It was really coal and iron that started the Industrial Revolution, you know. Iron to make the boilers, similar to this one, and coal, of course, to burn on them to make the steam to drive all the machinery. This boiler is, of course, a fairly modern one, you know, which I've altered to burn sticks to make the steam to drive the machinery, and I must say it works very well, you know. Without the iron, the boilers couldn't have been made, and the you know, steam couldn't have been raised to drive all the steam engines that there were at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Some of my earliest recollections around Bolton were going in foundries, you know. There were quite a lot of nice foundries in Bolton in the olden days. And they looked unbelievably unhealthy places, you know. They were always full of smoke and what have you. And watching the molten metal run along troughs on the floor and all of that, always fascinated me. And like the end product, when you saw it, you know, magnificent, you know, really beautiful stuff. To find out all about the early days of ironmaking, this wooded valley on the River Severn is the place to come. The Ironbridge Gorge is in Shropshire, and it's probably the most important industrial archaeological site in Britain. So important that it's been made into a World Heritage Site. Altogether, there are 7 different museums here, which between them give a good picture of a great range of industrial activity that once took place in this valley. This is the world's first iron bridge. Until it was built in 1779, the whole valley was known as Coal Brookdale. Iron was so important round here that this place was regarded as the beginning or the cradle of the Industrial Revolution. The story of ironmaking really starts here in Coal Brookdale, where in 1709 Abraham Derby first smelted iron, and this is the original furnace. It would have been in a furnace like this that the great pieces of iron were cast that they used to build the bridge. The builder was a local ironmaster called John Wilkinson, who was nicknamed Iron Mad because he believed iron could be used to make anything. As you can see, there's 1 or 2 blowholes in the castings. You know, they weren't too particular, but really on the whole, you know, the whole thing is beautifully done, all held together with dovetails and cotters and iron wedges. Very few nuts and bolts, you know. But the only way I think they could have cast these is actually on the floor of the foundry and directly tap the furnace into the mould. Perhaps that accounts for all the slag and the rough stuff, you know, which normally they would scrape off the top of the molten metal. Here in Ironbridge, it was the first place they used coke for smelting iron. Until then, they had only used charcoal. When Abraham Derby did this, he started a dynasty of iron founders in the gorge who were to change the entire face of industry. It wasn't just bridges they made here. The first iron wheels and the first iron rails were made here, and even the first steam locomotive by a Cornishman called Richard Trevithick. This is a replica of the first locomotive that was ever built. I always thought Mr. Trevithick lived in Cornwall. What's it doing here, John?
Well, he did live in Cornwall, but when he wanted to get this engine built, he had to go to the place where many other people did, with their reputation with the best cast iron, which was Coalbrookdale.
That would be right, wouldn't it?
We did the first cast iron engine cylinders way back in the 1720s.
Does it actually run?
It does run, yeah. We'll just stick it. Oh, you can do one thing you can't, which is run it out of gear. We've got a clutch in there, so I'll just stick it over for you.
Yeah. Interesting valve gear, hasn't it?
You couldn't get any simpler valve gear. He just knocks it. There's a plug valve in there.
Yeah.
So he just knocks it one way and then the other.
Yeah.
Everybody walks by and says, "I thought Mr. Stevenson invented railways."
Yeah.
But,
no, that's not true.
That's not true. That's not
Mr.
true.
Treverick did it a bit before.
He did it before. Well,
This is
26 years before rockets.
1803. This thing.
Yeah.
Well, the original.
The original was.
Yeah.
You can't just lean over and get the file with it.
Once the driver had turned up, we were away. A bit too far away, isn't it? I wonder what sort of top speed we're like.
Well, when we've got a longer track, if we get to about 4 miles an hour, and you do not want to go any faster.
Yeah. It's rather a ponderous vehicle. You ever get wheel spin?
Yes.
It's not only locomotives they have here, they've also got things like old beam engines, which were the first stationary steam engines. This beam engine is the one that went off to America and then come back, innit?
Yeah, it's got to be the world's most travelled, this has it?
Yeah.
It's collected by Henry Ford for his museum at Dearborn in the 20s.
Yeah.
And Cornwall did really well out of it, because to get it, Ford had to electrify their brickworks for them.
Not so bad, huh?
It's good for us because it's Cornwall produced the first.
Made here.
Well, and they also produced the first cast iron cylinders for steam engines full stop back in the 1720s. So I've got a good connection with steam engines, really.
Yeah.
Cornwall fell back on what it was really good at, which was foundry work.
Yeah.
And the sort of 19th century is more famous for its sort of cast iron furniture and street furniture.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Some beautiful catalogues with railings and lampposts and all that.
There's
magic.
Yeah.
The most beautiful iron in all the world. This is where it was manufactured, and there's still an ironworks here today. To see what working life used to be like, Bliss Hill Victorian town recreates life and industrial activity as it was here at the end of the 19th century. And in the ironworks, they've got an ancient rolling mill that was still being used until quite recently in Bolton. And I actually saw it working there when I was a young man. This thing here, made out of a conglomeration of railway lines and bits and pieces, is the furnace where they actually got the iron ox ready to put either through the rollers or underneath the hammer. And believe me, it was quite an exciting vision watching how it all went. First of all, when the signal were given, the guy crashed these big tongs into the fire, come out with a lump of iron weighing about 500 weight, shoved it on this trolley here. He got a race off with sparks coming off his clogs this way. Bang! As the tail end of the iron came out of here, the guy collared it with these things and slammed it back into the next opening. Sometimes it wouldn't go in and the nearly scuddling and sparks going off the clogs again. This lot here is actually the rolling mill that used to be in Bolton, where I come from. And I well remember seeing the thing work as a reasonably young man. And it was quite fantastic, you had easy chairs, and there'd be about 6 of them sat in easy chairs, and 6 of them shoving the iron into the rollers. And when they'd done so many passes and they were like exhausted, the 6 sat down and jump up and take over, and the other 6 would flop into the easy chairs. Or go to the pub across the road, But quite funny, because some of them didn't get paid. They only paid the wives because they used to have a tendency to nip into the pub, In that strange-looking cage at the far end, there's like a loose coupling in between the engine shaft and the actual rolls. So if they put a piece in that were not quite hot enough, the whole thing, bang, and it flew to pieces. And all the operatives disappeared towards the washing up department, washed their hands and went home because they knew there'd be no more rolling that day till they mended it again. The reason for all this industrial activity around here is at the bottom of this mine shaft here, which is 700 feet deep, There are 4 seams of coal, 1 seam of iron ore, and 2 seams of fire clay. And that's why it all happened really round here. And they've still got a steam-driven winding engine here, which would have been used to get men and materials up and down the mine shaft. Hello, Dave. How are you doing, mate? A real hot steam winding engine that actually works.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Are you going to give me a demo? And,
yes, I'll tell you. So what we'll actually do now is take the cage down, loosen the holding brake off, and then
turn the steam on.
That's it. We'll take the cage now down. At the moment now it's freewheeling.
Very near the bottom now.
Near the bottom. Yeah, and then we'll just ease it down to the mark. So now the rounds up in this case at the bottom of
it. Here at Ironbridge, they've got quite a wonderful collection of small stationary steam engines. You know, these things more or less went out of favour because of gas engines and electric motors. But in some places they carried on quite late on. I mean, this here thing here is a steam boiler feed pump made in Manchester by a man called Frank Pern. I've actually got one of these in my back garden at home. What a wonderful place this is, all this lovely smoke and the strong smell of sulphur. If I were at home, the council would arrest me. I'm quite environmentally friendly, really, when you think of the amount of smoke industry used to generate. There's interesting bits of machinery everywhere you go here. Like this thing here. This is a rock crusher. I've just got wind that they're going to charge up the blast furnace in the iron foundry. I'm going to go and watch them. Basically what's happening now is, in the bottom of the blast furnace, there were already quite a good fire with coal. And Nigel's put in layers of cast iron, limestone and silicon, and then another layer of coal. And after about half an hour, it'll begin to melt, and it'll be extruded through a little hole at the bottom into a ladle, and then be poured into the moulds. A foundry like this is an exciting place. In this one at Ironbridge, you can see some of the ancient methods of casting the iron that all those early engines and boilers were made of. All they actually make here now are iron ornaments that they sell as souvenirs. There's 120 pounds of molten cast iron going into the ladle. That's just about all 2 men can lift up and pour into the moulds. Like, every town had 2 or 3 of these places in the olden days, until the advent of the profile burner, which put them all out of business. In bigger foundries, the ladles hanging on a crane and had gearing to take the thing up. Too much weight for 2 men to lift up. When they finished tapping the blast furnace and all the metals ran out, it was like a residue in the bottom of the base of the furnace. Come from the byproducts like the limestone and the sand and all that's mixed up with it. And if they didn't get it out, it'd set like diamonds, almost like glass. So as soon as it's over with, they've got to open the bottom and let the whole lot drop out onto the floor and rake it all out and put it out with an hosepipe. When I was repairing a chimney on foundries, I always used to stop work and go and watch this performance of dropping the bottom out of the blast furnace, you know, were always very exciting to me. As you've just witnessed, it is quite exciting. There's lots more to know and places to visit like this one, you know, up and down the country, if you're interested in our industrial past. Back in Abraham Darby's day, they only had water power. I wanted to find somewhere where I could see how water power was used in the iron industry. Industrial history can be found in some surprising places, and my travels took me to the heart of the Devon countryside. Here I found a place where they've still got some really ancient methods of making agricultural tools. Finch Foundry is in the village of Sticklepath near Oakhampton, on the edge of Dartmoor. It's not really a foundry, it's actually a forge where you can see how they used to make things like sickles, scythes and shovels. Water power continued to be used long after steam power out here in the country where there was an abundance of water. This machinery was used from about 1814 right up until the 1960s. My word, this is something else, isn't it? I've never quite ever seen anything as ancient. You know.
Hello, Fred.
How old is it?
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but this is second-hand, actually.
Oh, when?
This only was put here in 1840.
Yeah.
But it dates back to about 1750.
Yeah, and it still works.
And it still works.
One of the water wheels is connected to another big wheel inside the forge, which provides the power for the tilt hammer. I think this hammer's seen better days. It would need to lift a lot higher than this to make any impression on a big piece of metal. Everything in here's powered by water. Even the fannier that were made in 1853 to provide the wind for, how many furnaces is it, Morris?
4.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4.
And yeah, at least you don't have to pay electric bill, do you, like me?
No.
This is a very early example of a drop hammer. And we're going to have a do at making it go. Now then.
Stop. You can appreciate why you need the machinery now.
Yeah.
Because you can't
I
move
know,
that.
yeah. It's quite heavy.
Yeah.
Does the vicar know about this?
Yeah, we have to take them back every Sunday. Well, hang on. Oh, yeah, belt's off.
Belt come off. First bang.
This is where they say cut, isn't it?
But a forge like this one that ran on water power for so long was a bit of a rarity. One of the most important factors in the growth of the Industrial Revolution was the presence in Britain of large coal deposits. When the steam engine was invented, it provided the power to drain the coal mines. They in turn supplied the fuel that was needed for the newly developed methods of smelting iron, which provided the metal used in the construction of engines. It was this that turned Britain into a great manufacturing nation. And the places that the firms went to build their new factories were the parts of the country where there was plenty of fuel, the coal fields. One of these areas was here in the West Midlands. You won't find the name of the Black Country on any map, but it is the name that was given to a region of industrial activity originally based on coal mining and ironworking, which is centred around Wolverhampton, Walsall and Dudley to the west of Birmingham. It got its name in the middle of the 19th century when thousands of chimneys filled the air with smoke, and the mining of coal, iron ore and limestone created large expanses of industrial dereliction. The Black Country Museum in Dudley is a living museum. Here you can see craftsmen demonstrating jobs like nail making and chain making from a time when this was the art of industrial Britain. Nails like this were used for building canal barges.
And then, Brian, how many of these do you have to make in a day?
Well, with boat spikes, we should be making about 1,500.
Yeah.
Half a ton.
Yeah. Wait a minute, what time did they start?
As soon as it were light.
Yeah.
And I worked until it were dark.
Right, the first operation upset in the end.
Ah, that's it. There he goes.
Yeah.
Right, now we'll upset the head. Means we're thickening the end out, making it roughly nail-shaped. That's all the rose head. And we just neaten it up for the boat builder.
As the trade in handmade nails declined due to the mechanisation of the industry, the Black Country turned to the production of chains, and it soon developed an international reputation. Some of the biggest chains in the world were made here, including the chain and anchor for the Titanic, and it took a lot of horsepower to get it to the shipyard. As well as big heavy chains, smaller hearths made chains with iron about ½ an inch diameter. Chains were still made by hand until the 1970s, and the chain shop here in the museum has 2 hearths from one of the last firms in the area to make handmade chains. They used to make some really big chains round here, anything up to 500 weight for each link, with the bars of wrought iron they used up to 6 inches in diameter. For a really big one, like the one for the Titanic, they'd have a chain maker, a chainsmith, and 4 to 5 other men working hammers with 2 handles.
Yeah, did they make really big ones round here in the olden days?
Oh yeah, in the Black Country they've been making links, anything up to 500 weight a link, 6-inch diameter bar.
Yeah, well, they'd not do many of them in an hour, would they?
Might be looking to one a day.
Yeah.
In this area by the 1920s, there was something like just over 6,000 people in the area making chains, a third of those being women.
What, like the smaller stuff?
Making all the small stuff, agricultural chains, military chains, things like that.
Yeah, I've seen modern chains, they've got like a beautiful raised lump round it in the middle of the side, haven't they?
From the resistant butt welding.
Yeah. Oh, any chance of having a go?
Yeah, you can have a go, no problem.
I'll not book you your chain up, I'll just make a link.
It don't take long to get them up with that fire.
I'll never get paid.
Well, you was paid by the weight.
Oh well, there'd be no chance. I'd be a poor man at the end of the day.
You'd be expected to do something like 40 links an hour, give or take.
Yeah.
That's right.
Another link for the chain for the Titanic. No wonder it sunk.
It's wrought iron that was used for chains, but now I wanted to find out about the steel industry, so it was time to come back up north again. The city of Sheffield in South Yorkshire is the place that is most closely associated with the steel industry. Made in Sheffield is a mark of quality that is known all over the world. The great age of steel making here began in the 19th century when small-scale tool makers became engineering steel makers on a grand scale. Kelham Island Industrial Museum is near the centre of the city. Here you can see the steel making process which made the city famous.
Up until the 1850s, they only had really cast iron, you know, and they really needed something a bit tougher. And along came Henry Bessemer in 1855, and he invented this thing, like a giant egg cup. And basically, what it does is the molten cast iron is poured into the top of it, and then wind pressure at 25 pounds per square inch is blasted through the molten cast iron, which takes all the impurities out of it, And when they run it off from here into ingots, it can be put underneath the steam hammer and forged into big blocks that can be put through rolling mills and made into things like railway lines and wheels for railway wagons.
And with this, steel could be produced cheaply and in bulk.
Sheffield is very famous for all sorts of metal products, you know, like this is Sheffield plate here, but mainly cutting tools, you know, like things from lathe tools to surgeons' equipment for sawing your leg off and things like that. And really, unless you've ever bought a pair of Taiwanese scissors and compared them with a pair of scissors made in Sheffield, I mean, I've got a pair of scissors made in Sheffield and I left them on top of a wall for 2 years, and when I found them again, put a bit of oil on them, they were just as good when I'm done, you know.
While you're at Kelham Island, you can see some of the last of the little mesters at work. These were self-employed craftsmen who specialised in different aspects of the manufacture of tools and cutlery. At one time, there were hundreds of them operating from workplaces all over Sheffield, but today there's only a handful of them left.
Not bad for a start.
Yeah, well, will you take me on as an apprentice?
No.
I see you're stamping the name on. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one that says made in Sheffield, England, this one.
The important one.
That's the one that...
that sells them
important
all.
one.
If you're making the best things in the world, you want to make sure everyone knows where they've come from.
This is when you're reheating it.
Yeah, right. We'll put the all-important name of Sheffield Steel
That's it.
on this hunting knife.
Made in Sheffield.
Right. There it is.
There we are.
Right.
For rolling the finest steel in the world, they have the biggest steam engine I've ever seen to drive the rolling mill.
I'm really looking forward to this.
This has got to be the biggest rolling mill engine in the world.
It was made about 1905 and it kept on running till 1970s. And I'm now going to do a demonstration of how fast you can put it in reverse from full speed forward into going backwards. Here we go. Did you like that? Well, the interest in the mining business stems from when I was a small boy, you know. Like, a lot of people don't realise that in this village just down the road there were about 9 collieries of one sort and another. And there was once a company called the Darceleva Coal and Terracotta Company. And most of the people who owned these pits lived in this neighbourhood. This was like the posh end, you know. The bit down the road they used to call Dolly Tub City, because I think they took washing in, you know, subsidised the poor money they got. Bolton had its fair share of collieries, you know, all around the edges of Bolton were heavily mined up until the 1900s. Just down here there's the remains of Lady Shore Colliery, where as a small boy on my bicycle with my dad, you know, amazing sight, you know, the whole basin at where the pit were completely full of canal boats, all sunk, and they all had LMS Railway Company or the Lady Shore Coal Company on the prows and the sterns. My auntie even, when I was a kid, she used to say to me, there's a mine shaft under this house, you know, and I only half believed her, but when she died, the road got eventually demolished. Just where my auntie's house were, there's a chestnut fence now, about 60 foot square, and she must have been right, you know, she must have known something.
Now these pit's head remains are all that's left of the mine that was once here. But there are still some coal mines around where you can see what it was like to be a miner. To see one of them, I went over the Pennines to the Yorkshire coalfield. The National Coal Mining Museum is near Wakefield in West Yorkshire. Although work has stopped here, this is a real coal mine and everything is very much as it was when it was still working.
Not very long ago, England once had a vast mining industry, and it's very sad to say it's practically nearly all gone. There's still lots of places like Capos Colliery here where you can actually still go below ground and see how it used to be,
Yeah then, David. All right, Fred? No, not so bad. I see you've still got a wooden head here.
Aye, we have. It's one of the only ones left in Europe now.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
This engine was installed in 1876.
Yeah.
In regular use until 1979.
Yeah, and it's still running.
Aye.
Yeah, so you see you've got an Avery as well.
Well, one or two swallows in. Right, this is the pit bank, Fred.
Oh, this is it, where we descend.
This is the brass riding check. This is so we know exactly how many people are underground at any one time.
If anything terrible happens,
that's it.
Nowhere else.
That's it, right. Right then, after you, Fred. You go. That's it. Just mind your head as you get in the cage.
Yeah. This one isn't very deep, but some pits, the cage would go down as much as 3,000 feet. And then when you got to the bottom, the coal face itself might have been well over a mile away.
Now this is where the tour really starts date-wise, Fred. We're talking the early 1800s.
Yeah. Oh, that looks a bit grim, doesn't it?
That's the new hard coal seam down there. That chap there is picking it off the solid, shoveling it into that sledge, and this woman here, probably his daughter or his wife, be dragging that sledge full of coal down here to where we are, and this little lad at the back of you, he's the door trapper. His job to open and close that door. As soon as she's gone through, it must be closed again to keep the ventilation going the right way around in the pit. And around here we've got some of the drilling machines that we use, Fred. See, there's a very early ratchet one.
Oh, I've got one of them.
Hydraulic and compressed air ones. Now this is the miner's equivalent to the Black & Decker. It's the portable electric drill, this one.
Yeah, but it'll weigh half a ton.
A little bit on the heavy side. One chap would hold it up here on his shoulder, and you'd have about 3 of them shoving at the back. Aye.
Now roll instead of one of them fancy props.
Set off with a drill like that sort of length. Then it finish up with one about 8 foot. Now then, Fred, this is the business end of the job. That's the shearing machine. Look, that's your disc there.
Yeah.
Now that's designed to give us small coal for the power stations like we've just been looking at.
It's like a grindstone.
Just grinds it up into powder, You can see the pounder on the armoured face.
Despite getting more modern equipment, it was still a dangerous and hostile environment to work in. Traditionally, coal was cut by a ewer. The miner would use a small pick and lie on his side to undercut the bottom of the coal seam as far as he could reach. As a miner, you always had to live with danger, and in such an hazardous and hostile working environment, workmates had to be able to rely totally on each other. Because of this, a strong sense of comradeship developed, probably more than in any other industry. And this spilled over into their daily lives. Mining communities were very close, with strong loyalties and a great sense of tradition. The thing is, none of this is ancient history. In 1947, there were nearly 750,000 miners in this country, and by the time of the miners' strike in 1984, there were still over 200,000 miners. But there's no trace left of all their pits, and the communities they lived in have all been completely changed. One of these communities was at Newton Grange, just south of Edinburgh. Lady Victoria Colliery was closed in 1981, but all the buildings have been preserved as the Scottish Mining Museum. They always had a pipe band there, and that's a tradition they've kept going. can't go underground here, but the surface workings are very impressive. And sad as well, when you think of all the men who worked here and all the activity.
This is the area of the pit where the maintenance men did all the stuff. You know, on this level they got all the locomotives and pit ponies and that sort of thing. And this is the bell that did the signalling. I don't think anybody will come no more though, you know. Yeah, and this is the top of the shaft, which went down, I think, for 1,500 feet into the bowels of the earth. All very quiet.
None of these places, though, can give you a real feel for what it was like here, with all the dirt, the noise and the sheer violence of it all, and a record-breaking 40 million tonnes of coal rolled off these huge wagons during the mine's 90-year history.
This is a bank of 8 Lancashire boilers that once generated the steam to drive the winding engine, you know, and of course when they were first installed here, they would be hand-fired with coal, you know. Now, at a later date, for economy's sake, it's just coal dust, which were actually blown in with a fan system to keep it going. It's rather sad and eerie, really, in here. Once it would be the scene of unbelievable activity with a million number 10 coal shovels flying about, and now it's quiet and peaceful. And somebody's nicked all the water gauges. It's so sad. On there should be a beautiful arrow saying water level. And then, of course, you can even see where it's been repaired. New rivets in the gusset stays inside. Not too articulately, you know. The guy must have just come back from the pub. There's a few dinges in the plate instead of the rivet head. Misfiring with his hammer.
After seeing this, I wanted to get back to the early days of mining, when all the wealth was underground. And it wasn't just coal. Tin, copper, slate and lead were all extracted from the ground. Whatever you were mining, life was hard and working conditions were primitive. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the North Pennines were Britain's major lead producer, and on my way back from Scotland I stopped there to find out about working conditions. The Killope Lead Mining Centre is high in the hills near Alston. Here you can see how water power was used to drain the mines and power the machinery. And you can see the sort of conditions that hundreds of children used to work in, separating the ore from the waste.
Labour-intensive looking contraptions.
Well, that's right. This is where the kids worked. It's a nice day here to come here today, actually, because you get a proper, authentic feeling of it.
Did they never have a roof?
No.
Yeah,
right.
This is it then.
There we go.
And then what?
Now then, you and I have got to work. We've got to wash this stuff.
Yeah.
Here, have a rake.
Yeah.
What would you call that?
Garden hoe.
No, coal rake they call that.
Oh, right.
A coal rake. I tell you what, this is poor stuff.
There's not many shiny bits.
There's not a lot in here.
Yeah.
And this is your next job over here.
Yeah. That's quite a poor apology for an hammer, really, isn't it? How old would they be when they were actually doing that?
You'd start work here when you're maybe 9, maybe 10-year-old. And you'd graduate when you were about 18.
Yeah.
You'd graduate to down the mine.
Yeah.
The first
A man's job.
A man's job.
Yeah. What's this contraption do?
This is the main weapon for separating the stuff out. This thing's called a hotching tub.
Is it?
You got a sieve suspended in a tub of water like that.
Yeah.
And you put all your broken bits in the sieve.
Yeah.
And then you jiggle that up and down at the end of this arm here. Right, you want to have a go for it?
Thank you, Ian. It's very nice of you on this wonderful day.
Can I stand and watch?
The beginning of my apprenticeship into ushing.
That's it.
Once you've got the water into it, it goes harder, doesn't it?
you want a job?
I think no. I think I'd been constructing some sort of engine to do that, you know.
And this was the engine they developed.
Well, this is the automated version, is it not?
This is the upmarket improved version. Yeah. And it's a bit drier in here, isn't it?
And a lot less strenuous.
It's just the same job as the kids were doing outside. You can see it's sloshing it up and down with water. The heavier stuff sinks to the bottom.
Yeah, I think
same basic idea.
Just on the short time we've been stood here, you'd be quite tired if you went up and down as many times by hand as what that eccentric's done on the shaft.
Back home, near the Bolton, Bury and Manchester Canal, there are some interesting remains where you can see how water power was used in an 18th century coal mine. Wetworth Colliery was in the Irwell Valley near Salford, and as in all early mines, water was the only source of power, not just for driving any machinery, but also for drainage.
The water used to come along here, did it?
This
for the water wheel.
Feeder stream for the water wheel at the pit that you operate the pumps.
Alan Davis and his team from the Lancashire Mining Museum have been digging holes and rooting about for quite a few years, and they've found all sorts of interesting things that were designed by the engineer James Brindley to provide the water power. I went down to go exploring with them, and it turned out to be a bit of real industrial archaeology.
That's brickwork, eh? Just original brickwork, back 1749.
I take it that beeping's like the modern equivalent of a Davy lamp, is it?
It is. I mean, we used to rely on these lamps, but now we've got state-of-the-art electronic monitors.
The modern world. Yeah. What does it do if there's any gas? Is it like a burglar?
Oh, it does set up the light off, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the hole, is it?
Down there? Just down there. Mind you don't drop in, wherever you do.
Brindley's whole scheme was quite sophisticated and even involved digging a siphon to take the water channel underneath the river.
I wonder why they did it.
Well, it looks as though there was a landowner who didn't want his water channel passing through, so he had to go to all this trouble.
Same as like, I don't want your railway.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of interesting stuff.
Down the big hole.
Yeah.
James Brindley's wheel chamber.
This is where it were, is it?
Yes, about 1750.
Yeah. Shall we go and have a look further down?
Aye, let's have a look.
All right. 20 further down round here.
I'll go in there, it'll be up to your neck.
Oh, right. Oh, I'm not doing that. Hey. Ah, so. Yeah, you can see where his water wheel rubbed on the wall there, can't you?
Yeah. It gives a diameter about 22 foot by 18 foot wide.
Yeah. There must have been a massive cog wheels and gear wheels in here, like a bloody great Swiss clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, these girders are something, don't they? How the heck did they get them round here, when you think?
Coal, lead, tin and copper. Whatever it was that was being extracted from the earth, the biggest enemy of the miner was water. As the quest for mineral wealth drove miners deeper and deeper into the ground, water became an impenetrable barrier. Mines were drowned out and abandoned, and water power pumping systems simply couldn't cope. The development of more efficient pumping machinery wasn't due to the coal miners, but to the Cornish tin miners, who experienced the difficulty of keeping their mines free of water much earlier than the coal mines. And the credit for the introduction of the steam engine must go to them. The Geaver and Levant mines were on the Cornish coast at Pendeen, close to Land's End. The last shift at Geaver came up in 1990, and it's now a mining heritage centre. And Johnny Johnson, who is a guide here, was on the last shift.
Level in here, now he's standing there, you'll be able to see what my light's shining off.
What's his name with the candle on his head?
Well, each guy's got his own name for him.
Part of the tour takes you underground into some old workings, and you can see why it was that a West Countryman, Thomas Newcomen, became known as the father of the steam engine, and why much of its early development took place here in Cornwall for mine drainage. About half a mile along the cliff top from Giva is the much older Levant mine. And here in its cliff-top engine house you can see the original beam engine working. It was restored by this group of volunteers from the Trevithick Society who got the nickname the Greasy Gang.
When it is done, you can outdo really. I'm only rub it with a rag,
And they let me have a go at driving their engine.
All yours.
Yeah, right, thank you.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
So the first thing is handbrake off.
Yeah.
Watch the clock on the flywheel. Keep going.
It won't go any
That's
further.
it. That's it. You're off the top now.
Yeah, right. Now then. No.
Condense it down. Watch the vacuum gauge. 20, 24 now. It's self-sustaining.
This engine dates back to 1840 and it used to wind 2 skips up and down the shaft at a speed of 400 feet per minute.
You learnt that quickly, didn't you? I think you've done this before. Keep the eye on top of the flywheel, pin out, throttle close. Just keep watching the yellow mark. A bit more. Bring it around. Off. Coming up nicely. Right off. Look at that. And that's it.
Very good.
Excellent.
And have my diploma.
Back at Giva you can see the much more modern winding machinery and the huge tin processing plant that was in use up until the time the mine was closed. Once the ore had been separated from the waste, a lot of it was shipped to South Wales where there was a good supply of coal for smelting. The big pit is at Blenavon in South Wales. Here the mining industry developed alongside the iron smelting industry. This is Big Pit here in Blenavon, and here you can actually see how the coal and iron industries altered the landscape of the South Wales valleys. It was the growth in iron production that led to the great increase in the demand for coal. If you look behind me over there, you know, all them pit heaps, and 100 years ago it must have been an unbelievable sight of, you know, the mining industry. And then you look a bit further sort of south and you can see where the ironworks were. You know, they were definitely all there to feed the hungry mouths of the blast furnaces on the ironworks. This place is the real thing. It looks much as it must have done on the February day in 1980 when the last miners clocked off.
Well then, Fred, welcome to my world.
Ah, yeah. Oh, it's all exciting stuff up here, isn't it?
That's right.
Oh, there's been a bit of digging and a bit of trouble and strife over there, hasn't there, when you think of it?
Well, it was 162 drifts.
Drift mines, yeah, just little
and
ones.
34 of these shafts.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's been quite a bit of mining over the years.
In its heyday, this pit employed 1,300 men and more than 250,000 tonnes of coal a year were brought up these shafts. This is another pit where you can go on an underground tour, and because the shaft is still in regular use, it has to be inspected every 24 hours. We're about to descend the shaft on top of the cage, which is going to be quite interesting. Isn't that right? Yeah, I feel a bit like Houdini in this lot, you know. Chins. Goodbye. Now then. There we go. Yeah, this magnificent elliptical shaft, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are all the pipes by here now that's draining the water away.
Yeah.
Other cage going by.
Cage going up. That's nice brickwork, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you think? You know, nobody could see it, and yet they.
And yet they done a nice job of it,
yeah,
didn't they?
Yeah.
The modern ropes.
Yeah, the wire hoses. Yeah.
The water garlands, they all tip to this side, so the water runs around and it drains from garland to garland to garland, all the way down through the shaft.
You can see the chicken wire behind the.
That's right. You can see where they've covered it up, you know.
Is that a piece of?
That's a piece of timber in it.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Yeah, it looks as though it's been there for many a year, doesn't it? That's the signalling system for up top. We're setting up.
We're off. In fact, you'll see as we go up a little bit further up here now, you'll see where the cage was rubbing at one time. But it's very
the bloody
unusual.
pressure on the sides of them, you know.
Feel the pressure.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. At its peak, just before the First World War, the coal industry employed 1 in every 10 people in Wales, and a lot more relied on the industry for their livelihood. At one time, the Rhondda Valley alone contained 53 working collieries in an area only 16 miles long. It was the most intensely mined area in the world and probably one of the most densely populated. Although work was plentiful, working conditions and pay were poor. Between the 1870s and the 1920s, statistics show that a miner was killed every 6 hours and one was injured every 2 minutes. If South Wales was famous for its coal mining, North Wales was and still is famous for its slate. So I headed north to one of the great centres of the Welsh slate industry. Here at Cletworth Slate Caverns in the heart of Snowdonia, near Blanw Festiniog, is the last of the greatest Victorian slate mines in the world, I think. You know. The thing is, there used to be 16 working levels with 24 miles of underground tramway, you know, in its heyday, and I think there's now 3 left that have been left to show the people how it were in the Victorian era, you know, mining slate. I've been up a few ladders in my time, but he's got rather a precarious job, you know. I think they referred to him as the danger man. He tapped the ceiling with his little hammer, see if there were any loose bits, you know. To see what happens to the slate after it's been quarried, it's well worth a trip to here, the Welsh Slate Museum at Llanberis, and see what they do with it all. Oh, David, God were good to us when he gave us that stuff, weren't he?
Oh, yes.
It's so thin and yet the rain don't come through it.
That's right.
Yeah. The traditional skills of slate splitting and dressing are demonstrated here. It's a job that was originally done in the quarry itself, and some of the people who do the demonstrations in the museum can say that their forefathers for up to 6 generations have worked the slates of Wales. It's a craft that's not changed for over 200 years, and it's more difficult than it looks.
Very good.
Can you come closer to the Travis?
Yeah. This is more difficult than that.
Oh, they're better than mine now.
Hmm?
They're better than mine.
Right.
And that's the measuring stick, yeah?
Right. But back at Cletworth, you get a reminder of what it was like to work as a miner here.
This is the true memorial to the Welsh slate miner. This labyrinth of vast chambers, hewn out of the rock using only gunpowder, human muscle and ingenuity. This chamber, and hundreds like it, stretching for 25 miles total width, will stand forever.
That's all that's left of our mines now. They've become part of the tourist industry. But mining is too much part of our very recent past to be seen only as an industrial heritage.
because tough and dangerous as it was, it provided a livelihood for tens of thousands of working men throughout Britain. Until, despite the fight to save it, the industry was destroyed. It's a way of life that we're never likely to see again, not in this country at least. But because it was all so recent, there's still plenty of places to see.